If you're not watching What We Do in the Shadows, you're missing out on one of the best comedies on television today. A mockumentary created by Jermaine Clement of Flight of the Conchords fame and based on the 2014 film of the same name. The series follows 4 vampire roommates in Staten Island and their human familiar and protector, Guillermo de la Cruz. Guillermo is portrayed by the incredibly talented, hysterically funny Harvey Guillen, and Harvey is our featured guest this month. Hailing from Southern California and the son of Mexican immigrants, Harvey first appeared in the ABC sitcom Misguided, alongside Judy Greer with producer Ashton Kutcher. In 2010, he landed a lead role in the ABC teen drama Huge, and he played Cousin Blobbin on the Nickelodeon family of superheroes series, The Thundermans. He was also in MTV's thriller Eye Candy, the sci-fi fantasy series The Magicians, and played George, the programmer, in Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. And if you've seen the new set of Geico commercials, that's Harvey and his new pal, the Gecko. Ralph and I had the pleasure of visiting with Harvey to discuss his acting aspirations and challenges, his big character reveal at the end of Season 2 of What We Do in the Shadows, performing comedy and practical jokes, what the future holds for Guillermo and his fellow vampires next season. Here's what Harvey had to say. Today on Everything Zen, we are joined by the exceptionally talented Harvey Guillen. Harvey, welcome to Everything Zen.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'd like to start by asking you to tell us a little bit about your early beginnings, your family, where you grew up, and some of your childhood inspirations and influences.
Yeah, so I grew up, I'm a Southern California kid, born and raised, which is hard to find, I think, Angelinos out here who are born and raised in LA or LA proper, I guess. So I grew up in Orange County for a short time until I was like 6 or 7. And I remember the first time I saw what I wanted to be was when I was watching, actually over Christmas break, so I guess it was years and years ago, I saw Annie on television, but I thought it was a new TV show. So I remember watching Annie, and it was a Christmas, marathon of movies. And I just remember watching those kids singing and dancing, and they were poor and they were just having the best time and just made the best out of the situation. And growing up, we were poor as well. So it was just it was an instant rapport with that. And the idea that they were singing and dancing made me even more excited about the possibility of performing. And I remember asking my mom, telling her, Mom, I want to be that when I grow up. I want to be an orphan. And she looked at me weird.
I want to be an orphan.
Yeah.
Well, so you say that to your mom. Did you start classes? Did you just start auditioning? How did you get into?
No. So, that was a luxury because she literally said, those are for rich kids. And I was like, for rich kids? And she was like, because I have to take classes and private voice lessons and tap and jazz and all this. And my mom would have loved to have given me all of that, but she always kept it real. She always kept it we don't have money for that. We have money for laundry and we have money for rent. And so I appreciated that she was honest with me. Of course, in that moment, it kind of crushed my dream, but also I thank her for it because she reminded me, she said that if you really want something in life, no one can stop you. And she said, if you really want something and you can make your own way, you can do anything. And I just remember her saying that. And I was like, really? And she goes, yeah, no one can stop you. But if you want to do it, you can find a way to do it. You can do it.
So she was supportive right away.
Okay. She was supportive. Sometimes that's more beneficial than giving a child just money. Because I think of all the times where my friends just got, allowances and they didn't learn the value of $1 and how to earn it. And I think, when you make that joke, some of you got allowances till you were 25 and it shows,
Right. No, it's
that
true.
idea. Right. But I didn't, and it really kind of put this work ethic in me, which I already had gotten from my parents. They're hardworking people, and they were just, if you find your way, you can do it. So I remember I wanted to take this class, improv class, because I found this fellow thespian at school at 6 years old who was those kids who go on to become on Disney Stars or Disney Channel or whatever, they become stars and darlings. I was like, well, how do we do that? That I get to classes, and so this improv class that we're doing at the local community center. cost like $12.50. And I just remember thinking, I'm gonna ask my mom. And she was like, no tenemos dinero. And my friend asked her mom, and they give her 20, and she's like, keep the change. And I was like, oh, so unfair, but I was like, well, if I really want to do this, I have to find a way. How do I make money? And I was walking home from school with my mom one day, and I saw this guy going through trash cans, and I was like, Mom, I was like, what is he doing? It looks gross. Oh, vende los botes, which means he sells the cans. And I was like, you make money off of trash? And she goes, yeah. And I ran into her closet and got a metal hanger and hooked it into a long finger. And I got a plastic bag from Food for Less from the grocery store that we had in the kitchen. And I went through the park, through all the trash cans, and with my little finger thing unhooked aluminum cans, and I collected bags and bags of trash until I could afford to pay for my first improv class.
Oh, really?
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you were 6?
I was 6.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
So when people say, oh my God, it's so great to see you. It's such an overnight success. And I was like, overnight? I was like, I've been working since I was 6.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Let's talk what we do in the shadows for a second. I guess, how did that come about? What was that audition process like? And then
that was a kismet audition. Like, it was not even meant to be. I went to a wine and cheese night. at the last minute with my friend who was in town outside of New York, or from New York. She was trying to avoid the winter in New York, so she brought her newborn to LA to see her family. And she goes, hey, I'm having a wine and cheese night tonight. Come and see. I know her brother and her family. I know her mom, everyone. It's just going to be family tonight. And I was like, I'm already in my pajamas, but if I don't see you tonight, I probably won't see you for another year or two, because she lives in New York. Okay. And I put my clothes on and went out, and I was like, okay, wine and cheese night. So it was her family that I know. And there was one person I didn't know at the event, and she was lovely. Her name is Yvonne. And the next day I got a text from an unknown number, and it was Yvonne. And she goes, hey, I met you last night. I hope you don't mind. I asked Mimi for your number. And I was like, oh, don't worry. It was great meeting you. She goes, I think you're so effing funny. And I was like, oh, thanks. It's like, and you should audition for my fiance's new show. And I was like, whoa. I don't do those kind of films anymore. She was like, what? And she was like, what? And I was like, what? And I was just joking. And she's like, no. I'm serious though. You should move quick, because they've already cast everyone in the show except for this role called Guillermo. And I was like, what is this show? And she's like, What We Do in the Shadows. And I was like, the movie? And she's like, now it's a show, but you have to hurry, Harvey. They've cast everyone. They've been casting for a month and a half, and they go into production in 2 weeks for this role.
Oh, wow. So they were having trouble finding you.
Yeah, apparently they went everywhere to look for Guillermo. They went to London to look for Guillermo's, which was a weird location to choose Guillermo. But I think at that point, Guillermo wasn't specifically envisioned completely. Like, I know that I talked to Jermaine and Taika about it, and they knew what they wanted overall. The idea of what Guillermo, the essence of him was. We didn't know what his background would be and all that. And I just remember I called my agent and I told him, hey, I got this audition. They're like, whoa, where are the agents? I think we know when you have an audition. I was like, no, this girl I met at a party. It's like a girl you met at a party.
Asians. Oh my God.
Yeah. And it was like, what's this girl's last name? And I was like, please hold. And I texted her like, hey girl, what's your last name? And who's your fiance? And he's Garrett Bash. And I was like, oh, okay. So I texted and I was like, it's Gary Bash. And I was like, because at this point I found out who the casting director was. It's Allison Jones. And if you know anything about any comedy you've ever loved, Allison Jones has had her finger on it. Like everything, with Bridesmaids, The Office, Golden Girls, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like everything under the sun that I've ever admired or loved as a kid growing up, Allison cast it. And I was like, I just want to meet her. And then I looked at the script.
Get in front of her.
Yeah. I want her to get excited, and I want to make a friend out of her, because I was like, you never know, I might audition for her in the future. At that point, I had already given up on the fact that Guillermo was 20 years older than I am. So I read the script and I was like, this is why I didn't go in for him. This is why, because he's been a servant for 20 years, which ages him out to at least in his 40s. And I was like, oh my gosh, no. And I was like, okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go meet Allison. I know I'm too young for the role, but I'm going to give him my best. And she's going to be so impressed that I give him my best that she might think of me for a future. So I never thought I would get Guillermo at all. I never thought in a million years. I went in there thinking, my goal is always, obviously you want to get the role, but my goal is really, you should win the room over. So you should book the room. The room should be, when you walk out, they should be like, I wish I could use him, but it's not for him. This is not the right part. But I want to use him in something. And that's usually what my mentality is like, win the room, just win the room. And so I wanted to do that, and I was super excited. And it was the next day, and it was a courtesy audition. They opened up the shop, you know, because you don't go into that office unless she invites you. Like, it's not like a breakdown, like, you know, it's like invitation only. So I was really excited. I was like, I have an invitation. I'm going to go see Allison Jones. And I get in there, I'm like, hello, I'm here to see Allison. He's like, oh, you're Harvey? And I was like, yeah, she's not here. And I was like, oh, no, she's here. I have auditioned. And they're like, no, she's in London auditioning for Guillermo. And I was like, yes.
So you auditioned for her assistant?
Yeah, he's for a casting associate, which is Ben, and Emily was at the office. And weirdly enough, I knew Emily through a mutual friend. She's like, you know my friend? I was like, yes, you're the mutual friend. So it broke the ice a little bit. And then I felt so like, so I try to age myself for Guillermo. So I was like, I'm not going to get this role. I never dressed up for a character. Or maybe I dressed with a piece of the essence of the feels like a character, but never dressed like a character. Never done that. And I was like, for this, I got to make a statement. I really got to like stand out. So I found this nasty orange long sleeve shirt with the brown sweater vest, and I popped out these Harry Potter glasses, and I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. No one on television looks like this. And then I parted my hair in the middle, and I curled it to the side, and I twirled it. And I was like, if this doesn't stand out, I mean, they would never, ever in a million years ever dress this person like this and put him as a permanent character on a show. And so when I went in, I was like, I'm dressed like Guillermo. And I wasn't Allison, it was Ben, and he put a microphone on me. And after, I just remember doing the audition and not knowing that I was done. Because I remember after I did the audition, I looked up and Ben's like, you're done. And I was like, oh. And I just did not remember what I did. I just just fell into Guillermo, where I just like transed into it. And then I came out of it and I was like, what happened? And he was like, you're done. And I was like, oh, okay. Thank you. And I walked out towards the door and he goes, Harvey, wait. And I thought he was going to say, you're it. You're going to Hollywood. And I go, yes. And he goes, the microphone. And
you're like,
yeah. And I was like, great, this is going great. And I walked out and my agent called me. He was like, how'd it go? I said, honestly, I don't know. I think I ruined it. I don't remember I know this character. I know Guillermo so well. And I just fell into him, but I just don't remember what I did. Because after I came to, he was like, we're done. And then 2 hours later, they had shown it to everyone already. And it was voted unanimously to test me with Kayvon. So it was Taika, Jermaine, Garrett, everyone at the company, at FX, everyone, casting director Allison in England had seen it. They all checked off to test me, which is the first time they all unanimously voted to test someone. They had been split like 50-50 or 40-60, 30, like it was like 30-70, like no one had gotten a unanimous vote to test. And I was like, wait, but I thought, he's like, yeah, you're the wild card. You're the young version. So don't, we'll see. We'll just play it out. But you are the wild card. They say you're the wild card. And I was like, okay. And then about 2 weeks went by and I was like, when am I going to test? Because they're starting to film next week. When are they going to test me? And I didn't hear back. And it was the weekend before they started production. And I was like, I didn't get it. And I was like, I was a wild card, so I was never going to be the first contender. And I was my sister at the mall, and this phone kept calling me from like a 16-digit number, and I kept ignoring it. I was like, whatever. I kept ignoring it. And then finally we're in the car driving home, and I was like, who is this number? And then she said, would you pick up the fucking phone? And I was like, okay. And I said, hello. I was like, hey, is this Javi? Yes. I was like, hey, it's Taika and Jermaine. Yeah, I'm testing. Yes, Mr. White, I'm testing. He's no. He's we saw your tape. He's thanks for coming in, mate. He's you're not testing. And I was like, oh, thank you for calling to tell me I'm not like I thought it was just a courtesy call. Like you're not gonna go through. Right. He goes, you're the one. We'll see you on set. What? And I was like, it was like what? And my sister, who's a big Thor fan, was like, oh my god. Like driving, I was like, she had to pull over, and I was like, okay, I'm like, how, thank you. And I was like, what is happening? So I had to call my agent on a Sunday. Martin Luther King was Monday, so everyone was out of the office, and they're like, Harvey, what are you talking about? It's like, they called me, they said I'm the one. They're like, no one called. Like they thought it was crazy. Like I was
right. They thought like you were getting pranked.
Yeah, because I was like, they don't call you, Harvey. They call us, and we call you. Who called you? And I was like, this
is like your agents are always like telling you like, no.
Yeah. And they're like, where are you, Harvey? Should we be concerned? And I was like, no, Taika and Jermaine, I'm the one. I must have sounded insane. And then Monday afternoon, they confirmed it. That's Tuesday, crazy. I had a fitting, and Wednesday, I was on set.
Wow. With Kayvon, Matt, Natasha, Mark, Nick Kroll, Kristen Shaw, yourself, hilarious talents. Who's the biggest practical joker on the set?
Oh my gosh, I would have to say it's Kayvon. Kayvon is he's just not even a prankster, but he's so funny, and it's just like he's the one that I'm the least one to break out of character on set, because Guillermo is the most grounded one. Like I feel like in comparison to the vampires, they're so farcical. You know, they're so bigger than life that Guillermo could never be that, because then it wouldn't be believable. He's a human, so we keep him at a level where he's
always
like
grounding the show.
He's always grounding the show, and he's your eyes and ears to the show. So if he starts acting ridiculous, you're like, whoa, this isn't really, you know? So we always keep Guillermo at a very contained level, which is hard for me to do when Kayvon is making jokes. So there's literally getting clips out there that if you just hold that scene a little bit longer, you see me almost break, because he's just like, it's just hard keeping it in. I would say it's Kayvon, and then followed by Kristen. Kristen's just a bubble of energy and light that I love to be around, and we've bonded over the last couple seasons together, and she's just wonderful. Like, she had Thanksgiving at her house this season in Toronto, because it's American Thanksgiving is not celebrated there, so she had like a dinner that she put together, and she's always being so generous and wonderful, and her and I will get like trucks for the crew. Like she loves ice cream, so she gets an ice cream truck even though it's winter, because she's like, everyone deserves a treat. And she's so great. And I would say Kayvon is the funniest person. He can mimic anyone, and most of my scenes are with Kayvon, so I feel like we've I never had a chemistry with Kayvon, which still blows my mind to this day, that could have been a really big risk, because they had cast the other vampires and they had done like a little bit of one-on-ones with them, and I never met Kayvon until the first day on set, and I was like, please let it be someone I can have a rapport with, please let it be someone. And as soon as Kayvon said hello, I was like, oh, thank God, because it was just like, and now he's one of my best friends.
That's cool. It worked out like that. First 2 seasons, we know Guillermo wants nothing more than to become a vampire. He learns he's a descendant of Van Helsing and a badass vampire hunter. Yet now he makes the choice to stay on as Nandor's familiar. Can you talk about what Guillermo's goals are now that he's learned of his abilities? What does Guillermo ultimately want? How has that shifted like now? Or is that giving us a spoiler for the next season? Because
I don't think it's giving us a spoiler. I think that the core of everything at the end of the day, Guillermo has always, the backstory I've given him is that he longs to be a vampire because he didn't have a great childhood. He lived vicariously through these creatures that he saw through Anne Rice novels, made into adaptations to film. The idea of being beautiful and powerful and feared and rich are all things that I think a lot of people aspire to. We're all trying to be a vampire and we don't know it. Yeah. But those are the things that world presents, right? Sexually ambiguous, no limitations, no fear.
Young.
Yeah.
Never getting old.
Yeah, never fearing getting old, staying young and beautiful forever. I think that Guillermo didn't have the best childhood, and especially probably in high school was picked on a lot. And so his only escape was watching these movies and longed to be part of that world. And when the opportunity arose that arose to like the idea that he met Nandor and at some point had this conversation of like, this is a possibility, which was over 12 years ago now at this point. But in the highlight, it was 10 years. And he would do anything. Because remember, at the end of the day, Guillermo drives with his emotions. He's leading with emotion. He leads with empathy and love, but desire and want. But also at the core of everything, Guillermo is a killer. He has killed so many people in the name of his master as victims. As much as he hates it, he hates the sight of blood. He hates the sight of gore, and yet he has to clean. And yet we root for him. We root for him because
he's the best.
Yeah, because he is you. You root Guillermo because we've all been a Guillermo at a point in our lives. If we're not Guillermo right now, we've all worked at a job that overlooks us for promotion. We've all been infatuated with someone from afar and don't have the guts to speak up. We've all been in Guillermo's scenario. So whenever you root for Guillermo, you're really rooting for yourself, because he is the human in you, the human in all of us. And what makes us different from these creatures is that they have empathy and they have feelings, that they have those desires, and the clock is ticking. Remember, what is time to a vampire? Nothing. What is time to a human? Every second that goes by without your dream coming to fruition is the second you'll never get back.
Right.
And so we have to play, even though we're making a comedy here, we have to remember those real human emotions that are driving it.
You got to play
Yeah.
it straight. You can't play into the comedy or
Yeah, and
especially
I
with a
think-
comedy like that. Like especially your character. It's
Yeah.
It has to be so. It's such amazingly written show, amazingly performed show. But like the subtleness and just the understated comedy of your character in particular is amazing.
And remember that I didn't know when I first got the part, Guillermo didn't have a last name. I remember it was like the third episode in, I went to Jermaine and Stephanie Robinson, and I said, hey, can I give him a last name? And then when we do the confessionals, like the interview for the documentary, they usually like, we're trying out things like slate your name. And I was like, Guillermo. And I was like, what's his last name? And they're like, oh, I never thought of it. Well, so can I give him a last name? And they're like, what are you thinking? Mind you, I didn't know about the trajectory of the story of the season finale for season 1 or 2. At that point, we're just shooting the third episode of the season and we just got picked up. And he said, what are you thinking? I said, I don't know, something like De la Cruz. And he goes, what does that mean? And I was like, it means of the cross. Is that okay? And he's like, actually, that's perfect. And I was like, oh. And I was thinking maybe because I'm with vampires and the irony, that's funny. Yeah.
Right.
Nope, it was because you're a Van Helsing.
Right.
Which I had no idea. And I was like, and so when I read the finale of season 1, I was like, what's happening? And I was like, and also Guillermo didn't talk a lot in the first season, and he became such a fan favorite that the writers were so generous and they kept writing a little bit more. Right. But Guillermo doesn't need a lot of lines to tell a story. Like I feel like whenever I'm in Guillermo mode, half of the stuff that he conveys to the audience are through his face. Like he doesn't have to say anything. He just like the vampires talk and the camera pans over to him and just like rolls his eyes or whatever, you know what I mean? Or looks straight at the camera. That's kind of how he tells the story in the first season. And then after that, we start hearing him have more of a backbone.
Sure.
And then eventually leading up to what we just saw our season 3 finale, where it's just like he's speaking up. He had a huge fight scene with his master. He went toe to toe with him and showed him like, I'm not scared of you anymore. Like I'm not scared. I'm just as powerful as a human and a Van Helsing that you are as a vampire. And that is very threatening to the audience of like, whoa, but you guys, like, what is your relationship? Because we want you, will they, won't they? Like Diane, like it's like, what is this scenario happening right now? But it's the idea of coming into your own. It's like sometimes you're more powerful in your own self than you think you are. Like sometimes you think you need the power of money and status and accolade. No, you're powerful as is. And you forget that maybe just take a second and realize how powerful you are in this moment.
Right.
The season 3 finale was a great episode for Guillermo, and so was the Van Helsing reveal at the end of season 2. That sort of awesome. Game of Thrones Red Wedding.
That was such a good. I mean, that was so good. I was like, that's amazing. That's such a smart twist. Because
and it's funny because we shot that finale on the last day of production of that year, and it was like 2 days before Christmas, and I had 104 fever. And I had gotten terribly sick, and even the director was like, "Are you okay?" And I know you're like not looking so well under the weather. And I'm just like, "We can wrap it, but we have to fly everyone back into Toronto after the New Year to shoot the scene, which would be millions of dollars." And I was like, "No," I was like, "I'm just gonna save my energy." And glad to report, looking back at it, you could never tell that I was sick like a dog.
Yeah.
No.
Wow. He's like, "Listen, we'll stop if we have to, but just to
I remember being in my trailer literally crying because my throat had closed up because it was so like it was bad, and I was just like the makeup Ro, my makeup artist, like touching the tears off my eyes and just like,
oh my God.
And I was like, and they're like, and they had to give me like steroids to like literally open my pathway, and literally they're like, so you have 4 hours with false vocal cords, because then after that it's false. It's just a band-aid over the problem. It'll come back, but after that you can't continue to talk the way you normally would, because you'll do like permanent damage to yourself. Yeah. And so we have 4 hours to get the shot, and then the clock was ticking. It was like 3.5 hours in, I was like, I could feel that, like I was like, it's wearing off, and it was like, it's wearing off, and like, and I remember Kyle, the director's like, okay, we gotta go, one more shot, and just like set up everything again for the fight scene, fight, cut.
Well, that's the worst thing to be doing.
I know.
Like you don't fight scene, because that's the most physical. I've never known how much you can hone your energy and how much you can just like channel it into one thing until that day, when it just took everything, my mental power. Just like, I've never meditated so much in my life, where it was just like, and then in between takes, I wouldn't talk to anyone. I would sit in the chair, and came on, would walk by. He's like, I know what you're doing, man. You're going to kill it. You got this. And I was like,
because I wasn't talking to anyone. I was like, save my voice, save my any ounce of energy. And then as soon as it said action, just
right. I wonder if they're whispering to themselves, like behind, like, I don't know if he's going to make it.
Yeah, I bet they did. And I think
it's not going. Oh, you're doing great. You're doing
yeah, great. I think I asked Kyle, the director, who's one of our directors, along with Yana, he directed, Workaholics. And I asked him, I was like, did you? He's like, there was a moment, man. There was a moment. I was a little worried.
There was a moment. Was it the moment where I almost died on set?
Yeah.
Are you allowed to tease anything for season 4 yet? Or is it still kind of top secret and hush-hush?
I'm trying to think. We pick up right where we left off, which is we saw that Guillermo, spoiler if you haven't seen the finale of season 3, is put into a crate to protect Naja overseas when she goes to London. So everyone's doing something out of love in the finale. Laszlo's protecting his lady love, and by doing so, sacrifices my happiness of traveling the world with my master in a train and at night. So sometimes, we do something for our own benefit, but it has a ripple effect. And so it definitely has a ripple effect going to season 4, where we pick up where has life, what has life been like for the last, year since we last saw them, and where's everyone at? And now there's a baby, there's the baby Colin, and everyone has gone their own ways. So we're all separated, and we're all kind of, picking up those pieces and explaining how we got where we're at and why things are the way they are.
Switch gears for one sec. Tell me about a dream role. Like, was there a film that you've seen? Like, what's a movie you've watched and you've been like, oh, I want to play that. That's the character I want to play next. Like, is there a character, or is there an example of a character you would just die to play?
Yeah, there's a couple. I think that I really want to play some kind of superhero. I want to play the unconventional hero that and I think Guillermo has become kind of that.
He is a superhero. No, he totally is.
He is a superhero, which we fell into by kind of mistaken. I was talking to Paul Sims, our showrunner, and I was talking for the after show for the Shadow Show, and I said, did you ever think Guillermo would, is this where he was going? He's like, well, no. He's like, we knew what we wanted for Guillermo, but we've thrown you curveballs. Like, can Guillermo be more emotional? Can he do a scene where he cries and he throws a curveball and he does it? Can Guillermo do action stuff? And you impressed us, and now we include it more. So it's always like they try new layers with him, because as we're finding out what he's like, he's finding out who he is, and so he's peeling away all these layers to himself. I was just like, he doesn't know he's an amazing vampire hunter, because it's in him without even knowing. Doing the stunt stuff has been amazing, working with our stunt coordinator Tig, and I do my own stunts, which is really cool, except for one stunt that he had to fall backwards on the staircase for insurance reasons. They wouldn't let me do it. But I've fallen out of a 3rd-story window when he flips them off, and he oh,
that's right, yeah.
I fell out of a real 3-story window.
Onto a big...
A big, but still 3-story nonetheless. You know what I mean? Where this is the stuff you see from afar, like a stunt person do. And
you're just going backwards?
I just fell backwards and I flipped over. Yeah, I remember that. And we did it 4 times, I think. And every time they're like, are you okay? Are you okay? And then the stunt coordinator and the stunt associates were like, you're literally, you could do stunts if this acting thing doesn't work out for you.
Right, but you also had all that training, because you paid for it by stealing.
Yeah, I took stage combat, I took dance, and I always compare, fighting on TV or on screen like a dance. And I was like, oh, it's like a dance. And the first time I said that to the stunt coordinator, I was like, no, it is, but it isn't. And I was like, kind of it is. You have to hit your mark on the beat, because if you don't, someone gets hurt. So It's 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, And he was like, oh, never thought of it like that. And I was like, well, you should, because it's kind of like if you're not on 1 and you're on 2, someone gets punched in the face.
Right.
Yeah, so it worked out. I really do like, that role. I would like to expand on the idea of a superhero, or changing the idea of how you see the characters I play, just because of traditional, we judge a book by its cover kind of thing. I love Guillermo as a person who's bigger, who is considered not intimidating, who's considered not threatening, but yet he's a force to be, dealt with. So I love the idea of that. And maybe turning in the other direction and maybe playing a killer or something, where it's a psycho thriller, where it's something like that, where it's whoa, I didn't expect that. And it's good. Don't expect anything from anyone, because they'll always surprise you. So that's my idea with acting. It's always play roles that people didn't expect from you.
Yeah.
Our last question for you is, what are you currently working on today? And is there anything that you can share with your fans?
Yeah, so coming up in the next couple months, I joined the cast of Reacher for Amazon. So it's based on, remember that movie with Tom Cruise?
Yes.
So I joined Reacher and I played Jasper, a medical examiner there from the South in Georgia, Southern accent and all, which was really nice because the creator of that show called me and was like, I was shooting season 3 of Shadows in Toronto, and I'd been there since January through April. And we were wrapping up, and it was like, oh, I would love for you to play this role. And I was like, oh, okay, when is it? It's like, it's actually start shooting already. They're already the second week of production. We were just wrapping Shadows. And I was like, oh, I can't. I have another week of Shadows. They're like, no, we'll wait for you. And I was like, oh, how long will this take me to? And it basically took me from season 3 of Shadows to doing all of Reacher all through summer into fall, and then going straight to Shadows season 4.
Wow. So
it was like, I spent 10 months out of this year in Toronto. Working, and Reacher was in between. So did that and joined the cast, and super talented cast, and totally different. That's also blood and gore that he has to deal with, but in a different way. And that's very grounded, and it's very real, and it's a whodunit. There's a serial killer on the loose, and who is this killer? And so we're trying to figure out and putting the pieces together. So a different hat to put on, which was nice. And that comes out in February. So look out for Reacher.
Exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, congrats on that.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. We
sure,
really appreciate it. We
really appreciate
love Guillermo. We love Harvey.
Well, thank you.
You can watch all 3 seasons of What We Do in the Shadows on Hulu right now and get all kinds of behind-the-scenes footage, updates, and show merchandise from fxnetworks.com. You can see more of Harvey in Huge and the Thundermans, which are also streaming on Hulu, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist on Peacock, and all 5 seasons of The Magicians on Netflix. Also, if you're looking for a super fun comedy/horror film to watch, check out Harvey in Werewolves Within, starring opposite Sam Richardson. Released in 2021, it's about a group of people in a small Vermont town who get trapped in a snowstorm only to suspect that one of them is a werewolf. Is it Harvey? You'll have to watch and find out.